Hey everyone, welcome back to KC3D Sparks. Today we are going to be creating a couple different styles of end tables, at least two. I know the first one will be a little bit more basic and then the second one will be built off of that one, just a little bit more detailed. Maybe we'll get into a third one, we'll see what happens. And I'm going to try to do more detailed versions of these because I know I've done like some basic tables with the tavern and stuff, so I wanted to try to get into more of that. And then also, I know if you guys haven't seen it, I did do the first video of the inn was the cot, so I'll be sure to link that in the end of the video. But let's go ahead and jump right into making the end tables. I'm going to go ahead and just hop over to this first unfilled layer, and I'm going to go ahead and do Shift A, cube. And also I forgot to mention, if you guys haven't set up your scene yet, you'll want to make sure you do that. So you go to your scene tab, change the unit to whatever you prefer to work in. I like to work in inches, and then I change the scale of my grid floor to 1/4 of an inch. I'm just going to go ahead and rename this to end table. Keep our things labeled so we don't get confused later on. Still a habit I'm working on every once in a while. All right, so for the dimensions of this end table, I want it to be a little bit larger than 1/2 inch, but I'm just going to start there and we can always make it larger or smaller depending on how we feel about it. And for the Y, I'm going to do 0.7 inches. I'm not going to do a whole 3/4 of an inch, a little bit smaller. And again, we can always resize later. And for the X, I'm going to do 0.5. And that's just to give us our starting point. Like I said, I might resize it a little bit afterward once we pull it back into our actual room itself. Okay, so let's tab into edit mode. And I'm going to focus in on it by hitting the number pad period. First thing I want to do is actually pull this up. So I'm going to deselect everything, go into wireframe by hitting Z, and border select these bottom vertices and pull this up so we actually have more of our platform, our surface area for the top of the table itself. Now looking at this, I mean, it's just a plain box, nothing crazy. So what I want to do is grab this top edge, go back into front view, and I'm going to hit E to extrude and just hit escape so it stays right there. We're going to size that in just a little bit and also pull it up. And now I'm going to put E to extrude and just pull it straight up again. And maybe pull this down a little bit. We're going to go ahead and add our subdivision surface modifier so we can start getting some definition. Now I know it doesn't look quite right yet, it's more circular, but we'll be getting some more geometry in a second, so I might hold off on sharpening those for now, and I'm just going to hide it. So I'm going to hop back into front view and I'm going to start adding in the legs and everything. So what I'm going to do is go into top view, going to hit Control R, add a loop in the center, Control R, add a loop going the other way. And then what I will do is go into wireframe view again, deselect everything, X to delete those edges. So we just have this one corner left. We're going to go ahead and do mirror modifier, make sure that's first. So pop that up above the subdivision surface modifier. So you'll notice it's only on the X right now. Want to go ahead and apply that to the Y as well and add on clipping. Now if you're having issues and the modifier is not going in the right direction, double check where your origin is. So you'll want to make sure that's in basically the center of your geometry and that your geometry matches up with the X and Y axes. Axes. So if for some reason you need to move your origin, like mine's not in the center along the Z axis, but it worked for the X and Y, and that's what I'm mirroring along. So you can always hit set origin and move it to either 3D cursor or wherever you need it in case if your mirror modifier is acting weird. Anyway, back into edit mode. I'm gonna do Control R and pull this one over to here. Actually, I'm gonna hold off on that, and instead of trying to make everything match up properly, I'm going to go ahead and grab these 4 vertices, go into front view, hit E to extrude. We just need to size it in a little bit. And since I have clipping on, it won't pull it away from these axes, so that's perfect. We don't want it to be pulled away from that. We just want to pull it in slightly to give us a nice lip here. Okay. Control R. And actually it might be better to look at it upside down. So I'm going to hit Control 7 so I can look at it from the bottom. And I'm going to pull it over about there and do Control R horizontally. And I'm going to stop it where it makes a nice square here. I mean, obviously it's not perfect, but it's close enough for what I need. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and switch to face select mode down here. Right click these 3 faces, go into front view. I'm going to hit E to extrude and pull that down. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just select the one, E to extrude, and pull that down as well. About there. We're going to do Control R. Scroll up 1 so we get 2 loops and just pull that down. I'm going to grab that one and pull that down as well. Maybe about there. We need it a little bit thicker than it normally would be, just so that way it's not too thin to print. I'm going to go back to face select mode so we can grab this face, hit E to extrude, pull that out, and then I'm actually going to delete that face, so I'm left with this hollow mesh here. And then I'm just going to select those, go back into front view and pull that over so it's connected. So now it's stuck. All right. And then I can do the same thing over here. E to extrude, go into side view, pull it out, make sure it worked. Awesome. Delete that face and pull that all the way back until it's stuck. Perfect. So now, once we apply the mirror modifiers, I will fill in this as well so it gives us another surface underneath. But for now, I'm just going to leave it hollow so that way I don't have to worry about it with the mirror modifier, and if I want to add in any other details before I extrude it all in anyway. Okay. So for this, we have our little bevel here. Let's check on our subdivision surface modifier. Pretty crazy looking right now. Okay, but before I sharpen anything, I wanted to add some details onto these legs. Obviously, if you wanted, you could probably take this table as is and use that as your simplified table. So that could be table number 1. And so I'm going to go ahead and call that. So in table 1, perfect. So that way that stays as our basic end table that I could always build off of more. So I'm going to go ahead and Shift D, duplicate that, hide our first one, and rename this to end table 2. Cool, and tab back into edit mode so I can work on this. And actually, what you would actually want to do is sharpen basically everything, or you could just delete the subdivision surface modifier since we're not really getting any sharp edges here. Maybe even pull these down a little bit. Maybe just this one, or you could leave it as is, whatever you would like. But tab out of edit mode and apply those mirror modifiers, and we can double check how it looks with the other furniture and props and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and hit M and move it to our first layer to check out how our sizing is so far. So I could always change our other one too before we add in too much detail. So I'm going to just move it into this first room here. I definitely like the sizing this way. It's a little bit more rectangular. You could make it more square if you wanted, but I like having the extra space around it. Gonna have to fix it along the z-axis though. Let's pull that up to match with the floor. And oh, it's still a little bit below the floor. About there. You could probably have it a little bit taller if you wanted. I left this one at right above 1/2 inch. So you could definitely go probably between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch, whatever you prefer. End tables for me are usually a little bit smaller anyway, so I'll probably leave this one as is. But we can go ahead and hop back to our other end table really quick and get back into editing that one. Okay, so let's add in some more detail. I'm gonna go ahead and unhide the subdivision surface modifier again. And I want to start adding more detail to the leg. So I'm gonna do Control R and pull this up here. About there, Control R and add another loop in there, and we're gonna size that out. Make sure that went all the way around. I believe it did. And we're going to do Shift E. And maybe size that a little bit better. And I did miss one edge. Oh, just kidding. I missed 2. Make sure I got all of those. Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen this face and this face. Since I know I'm not gonna do anything else, at least not right away. I can always unsharpen them later. Gonna sharpen this loop. Start getting these a little more crisp. Sharpen this. That one. And I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen this one a little bit more, but I'm leaving it a little bit beveled. Maybe more like that. A little bit dramatic, like that. And if you wanted a little bit better of a bevel, instead of sharpening this, you could unsharpen it. And then extrude it, pull it up slightly. Oh, except that didn't work. We need to make sure we have all the faces selected. A to extrude, pull it up slightly, and size it in slightly. And that'll give you a much better bevel. But if you want to simplify your geometry, just sharpening the edge would be much better. More like that. Okay, cool. That's all personal preference. I'm just trying to make it look better. Now I want to kind of mirror what I have up here down here. So I'm going to go in a front view, get my loop about there. Looks good. Control R again, size that out. I'm going to go ahead and sharpen this. And I'm just going to deselect everything, go into wireframe view, and sharpen all of that. Awesome. And then in the center, I'm going to do Control R, scroll up 3 times, and then grab these 2, size along the Z, Shift E, and then size this like that. And then Control R, whoops, there and there. And then do that in the center. And then we can select them both and size it, but if you size it, it's gonna be weird. So you have to hit S and then Shift Z so they won't size along the Z axis. And then don't forget to sharpen those. Awesome. And then for the bottom, I'm debating what I want to do. If I want to either leave it flat, I could just add a loop and pull that down, but I think I will do something similar. So I will add a loop and pull it down instead of completely sharpening it. No, I think sharpening it would be the best option. So do Shift E, sharpen it to get it completely flat. Okay. Then what we'll do is do Control R and add in 3 loops as is. Sharpen those 2 and size that one out to get it to kind of mirror that one. And then again, grab all of these, Shift E, and sharpen. And we will need to sharpen this inside as well. So grab these 2 vertices and sharpen that edge. I guess actually it probably doesn't matter too much since we're probably going to fill this in as is. But I just went ahead and did it anyway. So let's go ahead and tab out of edit mode. And I'm going to duplicate this. Let's go ahead and tab in. And I want to go ahead and make this solid, like another shelf. So what we can do is just grab this face. We're going to go ahead and delete it. Grab this face, hit E to extrude, and just pull that over. But you do need to delete that face as well first. And then we can grab that loop, pull that over. Perfect. And then what you want to do is grab both of these vertices, so 1 and 2, Alt M at center. And then same thing down here, grab both of those vertices, Alt M at center. Give that a nice platform. Make sure there's nothing extra in here. I think there might be. Oh yeah, we don't need this edge. Make sure you delete this edge, X, edges. There we go. We don't need this edge. And that one's already gone. Okay. Perfect. Make sure that your mesh stays hollow. There we go. Awesome. So now that we have that all finished, we can go ahead and apply our modifiers. Tab in, make sure there's nothing crazy. Oh, I guess you could have made this filled in if you had preferred, but I'm gonna leave it as is. But could always thicken that up if you're concerned about it printing, anything like that. So let me actually show you how to do that real quick. You can either grab these 4 faces and just size them down. Could have extruded them before, but easiest way now to fix it if you're already this far along is just pull that down to match, and then it's a really nice thick table. Probably be pretty good. Other things you could do is add in some more details to these edges. Maybe do some sort of inlay or wood carving type thing. But for now, I think this looks pretty good. I want to see how it looks in the rooms. Now, obviously, it's going to look weird next to the cots. This will probably be in the other 2 rooms that I have planned. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate it so I can leave the one here. Move it to this layer. Go into top view. And since I have the other... Do I? Oh yeah, it's there. I just can't see it. I need to color that in or something. Move this one over here. See how it looks. Pull that up. That looks really good. It definitely looks weird next to a cot. It's a little fancy for that. That's where our basic table comes in. I'll probably pull this one over here. But this one will probably be in the nicer rooms. There is probably one more thing that you could do, I could either do real quick. Let's go back to our layer where we had our other tables. The other thing that you could do is, instead of doing this hollowed out table, I am going to go ahead and actually duplicate that, hide this one, put this back into the center. I'm gonna rename this to 3. It's a third version. I like the top as is. I wouldn't mind leaving that the same. However, switch to vertex select. If you wanted it to be a cabinet instead, what you could do, go ahead and border select this and just delete all those vertices. You will have to fill this in a little bit first. Go ahead and fill in these faces. Okay. Select everything and just pull it down to where you want, either that 1/2 inch mark, or I'm just going to go a little bit below that to make it a little bit taller. And then what we can do is grab these edges. We're going to hit E to extrude and just size that in. Mainly along the Z, maybe about there. That's a little much. Yeah, I like here, it looks pretty good. I'm going to go into the side view. We're going to hit E to extrude. Pull that out. And I want it to match with the actual table lip itself. So maybe about there. Any further, it's gonna look really weird. E to extrude again. We'll just size that in. About there. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen all of these. Perfect. Go ahead and reselect these. E to extrude again. Go in a side view, pull it back, and size it in a little bit. And then E to extrude, pull it back out. On the front view, size it in a little bit, but then go back and sharpen almost every part of it to make it square. But you'll notice some of this is still rounded in here. In order to fix that mesh, you'll want to sharpen these edges as well to make that nice and clean. That looks good. And of course you can put a little pull handle or something like that on here. I wouldn't mind adding a little base though. So what we can do is the cabinet bottom. Pull that back up a little bit. Maybe pull it all up a little bit. Let's bring it to 1/2 inch. And then we're gonna do E to extrude. Just pull it down slightly. Size that out to about there. E to extrude and pull that down. And then what we'll want to do is unsharpen that. And maybe just add in a loop here. Let's give it a nicer base. But we want to make sure it's not too much bigger than the top itself. I think the top itself would probably look better, a little bit bigger on this cabinet. So I might even grab all of the top. Want to make sure we deselect this loop though. Whoops, not that loop. And then do S, Shift Z to just pull that out a little bit. Make it a little bit bigger. Maybe not quite that big. Maybe more like that. Cool. I want to go ahead and add the handle. What I'm going to do, Control R, right there, Control R, there, Control R, do 2. That's actually pretty good. Whoops. E to extrude. I'm just going to size it down a little bit along the X. More like that. E to extrude, pull that out. E to extrude, pull that out again. And what I want to do is SX. Hopefully this isn't too thin to print. Then grab almost all of that. Shift E and sharpen it up. Then just make it pop out a little more, make it a little rounder. E to extrude, size that in a lot, and then unsharpen that. Pull that out a little bit. I think I need to unsharpen this a little bit. More like that. That works. Okay, cool. So there is our third cabinet option. And if you guys are printing it on your own printer, this option will work fine. You don't have to worry about anything else. However, if you're going to upload this to Shapeways, I would recommend hollowing this out. And what I mean by that is just going ahead, selecting these, go into front view, and you can just pull that up. Nope, you have to E to extrude first and then pull that up. So that way it's hollowed out. It'll be a lot cheaper to print this way. And obviously you could sharpen those edges and everything too. I'm just gonna undo that for myself, but just a little tidbit there. So if you're printing it yourself, you can obviously set how everything is hollowed out and everything like that, how dense it is. But for Shapeways, they do different types of printing, so you'll want to hollow it out yourself to make it a lot cheaper, or else this brick will just be too expensive. Anyway, let's go ahead and move this one to the room as well. See how it looks. Again, it might look weird with the cot, but just as an example for height and everything. So this one still fits in our 1-inch square rather nicely. It's just a little low. Boop, right there. Awesome. So cool little cabinet, end table for your rooms. You know, take your pick of which type you like. Let me pull the other one over as well so you guys can compare. So we have super basic, kind of mid-level fancy with some detailing, and our cabinet style. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions or requests or anything like that, be sure to leave those in the comments below. I am back from vacation obviously, so hopefully I'll be back responding to comments much quicker. Let me know again if you guys have any requests. I really appreciate any feedback. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.